At what point do you say enough is enough? When are the sheriffs going to take control of their counties and say, listen, obviously the federal government isn't doing enough. We're going to be stepping in, and there's something going on in the federal government. They're not helping us. And guess what? They're not supposed to because you are in control of your county, sheriff. Okay, so we just need to remember that as we look at this video about the migrant gang takeover.
Police are reporting a surge in gang violence by illegal immigrants across the state. Dallas police charged 4 illegals with robbing a woman at gunpoint during a home invasion. San Antonio police arrested 20 people on drugs and human trafficking charges at an apartment complex. And some are confirmed members of the brutal gang, the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, TDA as they're known. Vice President Kamala Harris has flip-flopped on the White House's border policies, which allowed millions to come into this country illegally. Now she's promising hundreds of millions for Trump's border wall she once called a waste of money. Well, you know, she came from a state in California that benefited from a structure on the border. It's like she's got her memory back, or not. She wanted to decriminalize illegal crossings and has walked that back now. Her campaign has backed off her previous calls to eliminate Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. Texas Congressman Pat Fallon.
Kamala Harris wants the American people to forget it was the Biden-Harris administration, but she wants you to forget about the hyphen and the Harris. And we can't do that. And they only even discuss the border, David, when it's election season. So it'll be 4 more years and it'll get tremendously worse.
Brooke Taylor is in Dallas with more on the gang crisis. Brooke.
Harris, this recent story out of Dallas is just frightening. This woman was pulling into her garage when she says that 4 men with guns followed her in. They held her at gunpoint, tied her up, threatened her while they ransacked her home. Check out these suspects here, now all arrested and charged with aggravated robbery. Records show all 4 are from Venezuela and have ICE holds. Police identified Manuel Hernandez through fingerprints because he already had a criminal history, including a DWI. Recently, he was stopped at a traffic light and arrested after not having a driver's license and registration. According to police, he was released just 1 day before the robbery. He eventually led police to the other 3 suspects, including the so-called ringleader of the group, Wilmer Gonzalez. When police arrested him, it turned into an 8-hour intense standoff at an apartment complex in Irving. I spoke to a lot of neighbors there who said that it was just so unsafe, especially for their young children who live in that community. Neighbors shared videos with me of armed SWAT teams entering his apartments. The 4 Venezuelan migrants are accused of following that woman into her upscale Briarwood neighborhood home in Dallas. Police say they tied her up, they hit her with a gun, threatened her, and stole thousands of dollars in jewelry and money.
We welcome people who are not, who come here legally, but people who are not here or are not coming in legally, we have to wonder about why they were able to get here in the first place and this far north. To me, it is the most important issue, perhaps even ahead of the economy.
And the issue not just here, but in San Antonio, a police raid involving multiple agencies ended up with the arrest of 16 people who have ICE holds and 4 confirmed TDA members. Harris.
Brooke, thank you very much. I want to bring in Republican Congressman Chip Roy from the great state of Texas now. You are up against it with these gangs. How do you fight this?
Well, Harris, thanks for having me on, and thanks for shining the light on this important issue, because it's really important for the people of our country and the migrants who are being abused at the hands of the Biden.
I really wish some congressmen, all the congressmen would say, well, you know, this wouldn't be as much of a problem if we had representation of our own states. We need to repeal the 17th Amendment. Please look that up. as we continue.
Biden Harris administration. My friend Pat Fallon is right. That hyphen exists. Kamala Harris is a part of this administration. She was dubbed the border czar. What we have in Texas right now are people getting hurt. You just went through the story in Irving. You alluded to the story in San Antonio this weekend. There were 20 people arrested in an apartment complex with a joint operation of law enforcement, local law enforcement, and ICE and Border Patrol. And 4 of those members were tied to the Tren de Aragua gang, TDA, from Venezuela. You have a situation in El Paso, right, where we just had stories coming out where you have migrants who were being forcibly put into effectively forced rape, prostitution rings to pay off the debts for people coming into our country, again, affiliated with TDA. You might remember about a month ago, I flew to Colorado. I went and visited at the site where the apartment complex was in fact taken over by TDA. Now, what's the consistent thread here? This is all a direct result of Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and Mayorkas's policies. They have been releasing Venezuelans under a program that you're well acquainted with, that Bill Melugin has been reporting about, right? Where they release Venezuelans, they release Cubans, they release Haitians, they release Nicaraguans, and they released 117,000 Venezuelans. We now know tens of thousands of them are criminals with backgrounds that show crime, murder. Now, here's the real exclamation point. You know Jocelyn Nungare, that beautiful 12-year-old girl who was murdered in Houston, Texas. She was murdered by somebody that we can now confirm, 2 individuals, one of whom are confirmed to have been a part of TDA. Her mom, Alexis, is a beautiful 27-year-old woman. And Colin Allred comes on and attacks Ted Cruz for politicizing this because Alexis joined Ted and President Trump to speak out about it. Shame on Colin. Shame on him. We need to make sure we send Ted Cruz back to the Senate. Shame on Kamala Harris for being MIA and going up and doing interviews with The View and going on Stephen Colbert while people are hurting in the southern part of our country from hurricanes and because of what they've done on our borders. And now we've got gangs in my district in San Antonio that are harming them, endangering them. We've got to fight back on November 5th and generally to take our state and our country back.
Real quickly, why can't we just deport TDA? Why hasn't that happened?
Well, we need to do that, and that's obviously what President Trump is rightly campaigning on, is having mass deportations of these criminals. It's not just TDA. There are rampant criminals. I was in upstate New York campaigning for my friend Mark Molinaro, talking about someone in his district who was from Peru, who was released, who had 23 murders in his background.
Ooh.
You know what will happen? November 5th, we have to get the right people in the White House, President Trump, the right people in the House, the right people in the Senate, and if we do that, then...
Incorrect. Now, here we have an awesome congressman. He has a great constitutional voting record. However, we need to make sure that we are intelligently communicating with our congressmen and legislators. Now, notice he pointed back to the Senate. He pointed back to the Congress. That's not where the answer is. He needed to bring up the importance of the sheriffs in the county, because who is the highest authority in the county? Who can tell the FBI to take a hike? Who can tell the IRS to take a hike? You see, but no one stands up for that. You know why? Perhaps it comes with some consequences. We have to make sure that we, as the people of the states, know where we stand. I'm going to let him finish the rest of this interview, but sheriffs, we're calling on you to do your duty. Uphold the Constitution. The Border Patrol does not rank higher than you because they are federally controlled, and the states are the one that created the federal, okay? Now, the power of the federal government is few and defined. Everything else goes to the states and the people of the states, all right? So remember, you actually hold way more power, sheriffs, than they have led you to believe. Please look it up, and we declare that the sheriffs are free to deputize congregations, to deputize their people, those that they entrust, so that we can get a handle on what's happening. Do not allow the train, don't watch the train go over the cliff, okay, while you are 50 miles back. There's still something that you can do, sheriffs.
We need to do our job in mass deportations to
Congressman,
make sure we can protect our country.
I
Thanks,
appreciate
Harris.
your time. Thank you so very much. We had a lot of breaking news. We'll bring you back.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch
So, in parting, we just want to let you know that the Constitution is still the solution. The reason why we have the border crisis is because no one is paying attention to the Constitution. That's why.